For the moment, it's back to Shireen. Shireen has the high and mighty of FICCI with you.
Well, that is right, and I'm going to harass them a little bit more. Lata, we've of course been speaking to them over the course of the past week, 10 days in anticipation of the big day, but it's now down to the wire, so to speak. Anish Shah and Anant, Goenka, many thanks for joining us here on CNBC-TV18. Anish, I'll start with you. I know that there's been a long wish list that's come in from industry, including FICCI, but what's the mood that you go into this budget with in terms of business confidence, in terms of being able to amplify that private investment recovery that the government is betting on, in terms of demand visibility? What's the mood like as you go into the budget?
Shireen, good morning. The mood is fairly positive. We've seen a good economic survey. The economy, for the most part, is in very good shape. The last few budgets have been growth-oriented, focused on Capex formation, which is good for long-term from an economic standpoint. And we're starting to see some of the effects of that play out. So I would say the mood is positive as we start today.
Mood is positive. Anant, Goenka, how positive and confident are you feeling? And if I were to ask you to give me a sense of the pulse check within the FICCI membership, how many people are now talking about fresh investments, adding capacity, setting up new facilities, etc., in the second half of the year?
No, absolutely. I second that. I think the mood is fairly positive at this point of time. Inflation is under control. The focus on capital investment by the government has been fairly strong, and we hope for that momentum to continue. And I think the key will be to create demand. And as consumption and demand picks up, I think private capital is very ready for investment. Balance sheets are deleveraged, and I think whether it is rural demand, which is beginning to see some positive signs. You just shared that two-wheeler sales are going up, tractor sales have been generally positive. So rural demand looking positive, as well as with the continued Capex cycle, we are fairly positive as well about the future.
Anish, and I want to pick up on this rural demand theme, because the expectation is that perhaps the budget will want to focus a little bit more as far as the rural economy is concerned. In what shape or form is yet to be revealed. But what would your expectation be, and where do you believe, if at all, more is needed? Where do you believe the government should focus, specifically when we talk about rural economy and generating demand there?
Shireen, we feel that the budget should really focus on inclusive growth, and as a part of that, rural economy is clearly an important component. If you look at the past 4 years, on average, rural has been reasonable. The past couple of years have been weaker. We are starting to see some green shoots now. And from a demand standpoint, it would help to have some level of stimulus in the short term for rural, while focusing on Capex formation for the long term as well.
So when you talk about some stimulus, are you talking about asset-creating stimulus measures, for instance, more as far as the PM Awas Yojana is concerned, something that, the government is already focused on, the roads program, etc.? Is that the kind of stimulus that you would expect, or you would like the government to put forward?
That is in many ways the best kind of stimulus, because the multiplier effect is far greater, and therefore for us we would look at more of the same in terms of what the government has done over the past two budgets. Focus on capital formation, focus on that multiplier effect that will end up stimulating demand to some extent in the short term, to a greater extent in the medium term and long term.
Anant, we're seeing visuals there of the finance minister getting ready now to head to Parliament with the president at this point in time. But Anant, the message from the government is that, look, almost 8 million, 78.5 lakh jobs need to be created annually, and the private sector needs to do its part in order to stimulate that job creation. Now, what is the sense that you're getting in terms of hiring trends? What about the skills gap? Is that coming in the way of hiring? On balance, what is the expectation, both in terms of net additional hiring, as well as perhaps higher compensation as well in the coming year?
Right, I think the government has ridden out the PLI schemes fairly well. We hope that there could be some more in job creation sectors like textiles and others. So if some of those are introduced, I think certainly that will help job creation. Second is there is a lot of change happening with respect to whether it is green transition change that is happening. That can be a large job creation sector. In the renewable space is one large space. And then again, the larger capital investment spend, which will really promote whether it is laborers, construction companies, new bridges and roads coming up, all of that will also spur investment. On the skill side, yes, there is an issue where there is a shortage of labor on one side and there is unemployment on the other. So I think bridging that gap and getting a longer term vision on how we can link the education policy, skill development and the needs of corporates will be something which we're very looking forward to.
Anish, I want to come back to you and ask you a question as far as how you are seeing the monsoon pan out. And while there have been deficits being reported across different parts of the country, and this is a concern and a risk factor that the economic survey has also alluded to, how are you reading what's going on with the monsoon at this point in time? How concerned, if at all, is industry with the monsoon?
Shireen, the monsoon is playing out far better than it did last year. And while we do see some deficits in some parts, we will have some ups and downs as we go through these 4 months. But on balance, it seems to be pretty normal, and that would augur well for rural overall and for the farm economy.
Okay, that's good to hear. So it's panning out better than last year. That's the view in from Anish Shah, and he would know a thing or two about how it impacts the rural economy. But Anish, you know, finally, we're just about an hour away now, or less than that, from the announcements. You know, if I were to get you to stick your neck out and tell me what you believe is definitely going to be an announcement that the finance minister is likely to make of the many asks that have been sent to her, you know, the one bet that you're likely to make?
The one bet, Shireen, is going to be higher Capex formation, higher than what we saw in the interim budget.
Anant, same question to you. The one thing that you would bet on?
I'd bet on skilling and job creation.
Well, skilling and job creation. The question now is, what will the roadmap be to deliver on that outcome? Are we likely to see more PLI schemes? Are we likely to see employment-linked incentives, which is something that industry is suggesting to the government? Will we see more being done for MSMEs and manufacturing as a whole? Of course, different parts of it, whether it's IT, whether it's the component sector, and so on and so forth. But gentlemen, we will have you back and harass you a little bit more with your take on the fine print as and when the budget is revealed. Thanks very much for joining us with your expectations as we go into the budget. The market at this point in time, not doing very much. It's 50 points lower on the Nifty Bank. The Sensex and the Nifty, the Sensex just about up in positive territory, 20 points higher. Prashant, back to you.
Well, I mean, Shireen, this is the definition of going in flat, right? There's, I think, 1.5 point change on the Nifty. So awaiting the budget announcement, the speech to start at 11 o'clock. But a very interesting conversation there from some of the corporate honchos. What we'll do is we will, I think...
Prashant, just a minute. What the corporates are saying is something which I think the economic survey was reflecting. You know what Anant, Goenka and Anish said, finally, what would you want? Job creation, skilling. And the economic survey said that hereafter we can't have big reforms like GST. Big bang can happen only once in a way. Now it is grunt work. It is nuts and bolts work. Get your education in space. You know, remove the gap between education and employment. I think that grunt work is what we have to expect. Boring budgets are good budgets.
Are good budgets, and absolutely put your head down and sort of continue to work and work hard. We'll take a quick commercial break here. Markets are flat, but we come back and we get you the tax picture in some detail. So we'll have Rajiv Dimri from KPMG India and Dinesh Kanabar from Dhruva Advisors, and we put the spotlight on expectations on tax changes, if any, from the union budget. Stay with us.